for those that haven't been following it as closely and didn't go through the 41 pages, what exactly are you alleging?
Well, what I'm alleging is for the better part of 5 years, Nike and its highest executives have been bribing amateur players and their families in order to get them to attend Nike colleges. Those are colleges that are affiliated with Nike apparel and that have contracts with Nike. And this constitutes a violation of numerous federal laws, and it also puts non-Nike colleges at a severe disadvantage, and it's highly criminal.
What proof do you actually have?
Well, we've got a number of pieces of proof, some of which we've provided, and we have more from where that came from. We have text messages, bank statements, emails, and the like. And unless Nike is claiming that I have fabricated all of those documents, then they are absolutely guilty. And I'll also note that for all of Nike's puffery, they have yet to claim that what I'm saying is untrue or that these documents are bogus. And the reason is they can't.
They can't because they're cooperating with an actual federal investigation. Why not just let that play out from law enforcement? Why are you going public with all of this?
They're not cooperating with any federal investigation. That's a bunch of BS. Nike told the public that 2 weeks ago in connection with their stunt whereby they had me arrested and charged, and that's exactly what it is, and that's what it's going to be shown to be, an absolute stunt. They sold the government a bill of goods. They told the government 10% of the story. What they didn't tell the government is that their executives have been covering up this bribery scandal for the better part of 5 years. They haven't been cooperating with the government for over a year. They've been deceiving the government for over a year. If anybody thinks that they provided those 41 pages or similar documents to the government a year ago and the government sat on it and didn't look into it, I have a bridge to sell them.
But Michael, why didn't you just submit your 42 pages to the government, who are carrying out an investigation, which Nike now are talking to the government about, and instead make it all public?
Well, I want to be clear about something. We made it clear to Nike from the get-go, from the very first communications that we had with Nike, that they were going to have to come clean one way or the other. And that's exactly why Nike pulled the stunt that they did, because they knew they could not control me, and they knew that this was going to be disclosed. So what they did was they pulled this stunt in order to effectively try to shoot the messenger, to try to discredit me before the information was disclosed. Well, I have news for you. If I get hit, if I get hit by a bus today, this story will go on. And Nike's corruption eventually will be exposed, and the world will know what really happened here.
But Michael, why did you ever go to Nike in the first place? Why not go to the government straight away, go about it through the proper processes? Did you ever seek any form of financial gain from this at all?
Here's the bottom line. I had a client to represent, and I, like thousands of other plaintiff attorneys around the country, went to Nike to settle a claim on behalf of a client. And there is nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Part of settling that claim was about Nike coming clean. It was important to the client, and it was important to me. And we made that clear to Nike and their lawyers from the very first communications that we had. But what's interesting is that Nike didn't bother to tell the government that when they pulled the stunt that they did 2 weeks ago.
So just to be clear, you are facing federal charges of extortion. In the complaint, it says, quote, I mean, this is 12D, a lawyer wearing a wire, that you said if Nike wants to have one confidential settlement and we're done, they can buy that for $22.5 million and we're done. Full confidentiality, we ride off into the sunset. Did you not say that? Full confidentiality relating to the payment that was made. But that ignores all the other context and all the other communications that took place before then, during which we made it clear that we would never, and I want to be really clear about this, we would never agree to anything that would obstruct justice or keep this information out of the hands of governmental investigators. You got to let me finish. We made that crystal clear from the very beginning communications. And that's why Nike ultimately went to the government, because they knew they couldn't control us, period. We were never going to participate in any cover-up whatsoever. So you, just to be clear, you are denying that you threatened to release damaging information about Nike and this company if they didn't meet your demands for $20 million. You're denying all of these charges?
I want to be really clear about something. We demanded a settlement on behalf of our client, and we demanded that Nike come clean about this in connection with an internal investigation that Nike was going to have to incur or undergo in any event. We did not trust Boies Schuller, Nike's law firm, outside law firm, to conduct that investigation because they had attempted to cover this up when responding to a September 2017 subpoena from the government in connection with the Adidas case. They had hid documents along with Nike and information from the government back in September of 17. We wanted our client compensated for what he went through, and we wanted to make sure that the truth was known. And I find it very, very curious, as should the American public, which is very smart, by the way, or who is very smart, that Nike has yet to deny bribing players in connection with this 5-year scandal.
But Michael, I mean, they are, as Sarah said earlier, in the middle of a federal investigation. If you're so confident that they will indeed be found guilty in due course, why are you seeking that statement from them right now? And why did you make all of this so public rather than working with the government to secure the ultimate indictment that you believe will come, which is them being found guilty through the judicial system?
I am willing to work with the government. I've provided information to the government. I'm willing to work with the NC2A. I'm willing to work with any of these colleges that would like information. I'm an open book. I'm going to work with all of them because I want the truth known about Nike and their corporate executives at what went on here. And when the truth is ultimately known, when people see what happened here, especially in connection with what they did 2 weeks ago to me, people are going to rightfully be outraged by this level of corruption. And Nike investors are going to be asking themselves, why hasn't Nike disclosed this bribery scandal in their 10Ks and 10Qs along the way? Because investors had a right to know as well that these Nike executives were bribing amateur athletes. I mean, this was rampant. We're not talking about a few instances. And those documents that I have provided, that only scratches the surface.
So if Nike, for its part, did put out a statement saying it wouldn't respond to your allegations of an individual calls you facing federal charges of fraud and extortion and aid in his disgraceful attempts to distract from the athletes on the court at the height of the NCAA tournament, your response?
You know what's disgraceful? Bribing amateur athletes in need and putting them and their families at risk for federal charges, all in the interest of corporate profits. You know what's especially interesting about that statement that Nike issued? They didn't deny a single thing, did they?
I mean, I think that they would argue that they're working with the federal authorities. You know, Adidas has already gotten in trouble, as you noted, for a very similar issue. Of course, they were going to go after, the government was going to go after the biggest company in the sector and look into this. And of course, Nike was going to take what you took to them directly to the authorities. Did you not realize that?
You know when Nike found religion? When they knew that I was going to out them one way or the other. Then all of a sudden they found religion. They've known about this problem for years. Their executives have been trying to cover it up along with their law firm, Boies Schuller. And all of a sudden they found religion when they knew that I was going to out them. How convenient.
Finally, I just want to ask about Zion Williamson, because you're also claiming that his mother received payments from Nike during her son's recruitment to Duke, which is obviously a big Nike school, when he was in high school in South Carolina. Do you have any proof of that?
Well, I don't traffic in nonsense, and I don't make claims that can be backed up. And I think people are going to be rather shocked when they learn of the totality of the evidence of Nike's corruption and bribery of players like Mr. Williamson.
Michael Avenatti, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.